Notice: be aware that changes have been made to the script to suit audio. This audiobook uses the revised version of the magazine as a base. NJ Creative Writing presents Magazine 2, Reflections on an Introductory Module, Part 2. Written and read by NJ. Introduction. Hello, NJ here, and welcome to Part 2 of the Reflection. This part will cover the final 3 videos I made for an introductory screenwriting module. These include Thoughts of a Hat, A Veiled Conversation, 3 Clocks in a Hall, Waking Up, and Mask in the Theatre. If you want a more detailed explanation of the video's origins, please listen or read the introduction from Magazine 1. This magazine will cover Waking Up and both the original and audio versions of The Mask in the Theatre. I hope you enjoy the second part of the reflection. Thank you for listening. Video 4. Waking Up. Waking Up was made during the module but wasn't showcased to other members. However, I still wanted to include it in the reflection. In hindsight, Waking Up feels more inspired by The Man with a Movie Camera from 1929 than Thoughts of a Hat. The video is silent and was filmed using stop motion, a medium that I've liked for a long time. I grew up watching productions like Wallace and Gromit, and they sparked my interest in animation. The plot of Waking Up is about a heart being shocked to life and pumping blood around the body. The video is styled like an old tape. I believe analog horror was on my mind due to watching people talk about various series such as the Walten files. This genre is interesting because it uses the distortions found in old technology to obscure images and cause tension. The YouTuber HBomberguy discusses the effect VHS has on picture quality in an older video from 2017, called The Power of VHS, SCANLINE. Go check it out for an introduction. Storyboards were then drawn up. They show the overall sequence, such as the blood jumping over synapses and the eyes of the mask glowing. Next, I made a list of materials I needed. This included felt, a craft face mask, washing up gloves, and originally string for the blood. The gloves were filled with pipe cleaners and wool so they could be articulated. Felt was used to make 2 hearts of different sizes to simulate a beating heart. Lines were drawn on A3 paper to represent the synapses. The craft store mask was given eyebrows and fake eyelashes. Tissue paper was then glued over the eye holes to disguise the lights underneath. The end credit uses an art doll and lights. I did have a problem with the mask at first. To achieve the blush effect, I used pastels dabbed on with a wet makeup sponge. I added the blush to the mask before I was meant to film it, so I needed to use another mask. Luckily, I did it correctly the second time. Rather than using string to represent the blood, I used red and blue pens to represent oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. However, the colour was lost when the video was converted to black and white. It was easier to animate though. Originally, I tried to film on the floor, but I changed to a setup that I had used for another piece of animation in the past. The camera was placed on a tripod and the sheets of A3 were placed on a magnetic board which sat on top of a writing slope. The camera was pointed at an angle and a harsh desk light provided an uncanny glow to the picture. To secure the hearts to the paper, I cut a hole in the back of each of them and fitted them to a magnet. The process followed a typical animation, except I drew the blood on with pen, so I had to get it right the first time. The editing process went well, however, a word of advice when it comes to the free version of CapCut. It does not cope well with animation, particularly playing and exporting it into a video file. Overall, I'm happy with the results. An edit I made after the process was matching the audio to the VHS aesthetic, because originally it sounded too clean. The animation is choppy, and you can see the heart moving from its spot as it beats. Additionally, when the blush appears on the face mask, I could have used a less whimsical sound effect. It doesn't match the tone. I do like that the video is more ominous compared to previous examples. I would consider doing more animation in the future. Video 5. The Mask in the Theatre. Original version. Like A Veiled Conversation, the original Mask in the Theatre will not be posted to YouTube due to privacy concerns. In this video, the front of a hall is shown, so you can understand my worries about posting it publicly. This video was made for a final showcase with other module members at the end of the course. The original script was titled The F-Bomb, and I believe I was going for a more comedic tone. There are some holdovers from the original version, such as the cloth mask and the intruder still having the letter F as part of their design. The video starts with Patrick in a storeroom, talking to Neil on the phone while swearing. Neil tells him not to curse in the building, because a spirit called the F-Bomb punishes those who swear. Patrick brushes Neil off before he is ambushed by a bomb with the letter F on it. The F-Bomb walks past him putting on a pair of sunglasses. As can be seen, the tone is more comedic, and I'm happy I went with a more serious tone. Like Waking Up, I made a list of materials I needed. I sourced a waistcoat, blazer, trousers and shoes from clothes I already owned. I brought some craft masks because I didn't want to show my face on camera. The bombs were made from polystyrene balls, painted black with red Fs painted on them. Pipe cleaners were pushed into the balls as fuses. I wish I had used a better stencil so the Fs looked neater. Looking in my journal, it appears I had originally planned to make the bombs through needle felting. I'm glad I didn't, because they wouldn't have rolled as well, and they would have been harder to clean. The biggest challenge was the intruder's mask. I didn't get a stretch morph mask in time, so I tried to sew one. Now, I'm not a great sewer, and any seamstress would probably have a heart attack if they looked inside the mask. The mind map shows I wanted to make a mask close to the mini-bombs, with a large F and a fuse. What I created looked like a sack with a pipe cleaner for a fuse, and felt blue eyes. I thought that the mask looked like a hot dog from the back. I did like how it looked old and handmade. I tried it on and pulled it taut with elastic. It looked alright, but the method of fastening was cumbersome and visibility was limited. Ultimately, I went with a craft mask option, which was already being used for Patrick. The original mask I bought was slightly too small, so I bought 2 more on the day I filmed. Details were drawn on before the session began. The masks provided better visibility and added an uncanny feel to the video. Filming took place in a prop storage area. This proved convenient when I found a spare phone I could use as a prop, while I used my phone to film. I secured the phone to the tripod with rubber bands. I used a fake skull to represent Neil. This prop had been used by other module members for their videos too. Because the lines were going to be dubbed over, I tried to recite them in my head and act out how they sounded. Granted, in hindsight, I should have spoken the lines out loud to help me when acting them out. The consequences of not being a trained or working actor. The filming went well, although I may have scared one of the other module members when they went by. The audio was then recorded on a dictaphone stuffed into a hat, which acted as soundproofing. To differentiate Neil and the intruder, I altered their voices while editing on CapCut. It fit Neil because he's a skull. However, I'm not sure about the intruder's voice, because it sounded a little too cartoony for me. I did add a lo-fi effect to the voices when characters are speaking over the phone, to add to the video's immersion. Overall, the results feel alright for a beginner's attempt at filming. The flow of the video is a little rushed in sections. For example, Patrick knowing that the intruders were looking for the mask he found doesn't feel right. One of Patrick's later lines, "And that was the last thing I remembered before waking up again," occurring before the intruder enters the story feels off. I corrected this in the audio version by having Patrick wake up and then find out what happened. I like the atmosphere of the opening, with the ominous music and the odd visuals. It helps create an uncanny feeling. I'm happy that I gave filming a go, because as I said before, you can't learn unless you try. Video 6, The Mask in the Theatre, audio version. This final video came about when I decided I wanted to release the videos to YouTube. I knew I wouldn't be releasing a veiled conversation, and as mentioned before, I was worried about posting the original version of The Mask in the Theatre. I still wanted to post a version of the story, so an audio adaptation needed to be made. Taking the original script, I edited it to be suitable for audio, adding more description to compensate for the lack of visuals. I also took the chance to fix some of the problems I had with the original version of The Mask in the Theatre. For a visual, I got a folder from a stationery store and arranged the props inside. I wanted to give the impression that the props were stuffed into a box. Using a blanket, I created a background to take the pictures on. Lamps were used to achieve a yellowish glow. Once I was happy with the picture, it was imported into CapCut. Feeling I needed another image for when the intruder appears, I took a screenshot from the original video file. I felt the shot I chose was a good menacing shot. With everything sorted, I printed off the script and recorded the audio through the same method as before, a dictaphone placed inside a hat. I thought it would be good to have a visual aid. The script was marked with a pen and highlighter was used to give a unique colour for each character. Additionally, I put notes about character voices and tried to slow down my delivery. I did so because someone had told me that my delivery was too fast. The slower delivery helped because I stumbled over my words less, and they feel fuller in their pronunciation too. Editing went smoothly because there was less visual complexity compared to other videos. I decided to use a filter to make the video look like an old film strip. This altered the colours, which had the effect of making a screenshot of the intruder look more unsettling. Compared to the original version, the audio script has a better flow to it. Patrick no longer knows what the intruders are after, and finds the mask by accident while searching the hall. There's a bigger mystery implied regarding the mask being hidden in the theatre, and why the original owners had it. My observation of the mask looking like a hot dog also made its way into the script too. The final section was a little cobbled together in CapCut, as the dialogue was rearranged slightly. However, it came out alright in the end. The cliffhanger does leave room to expand the story, and I will admit I am thinking of revisiting the story in the future. However, I'll wait until I finish other projects. Ending note. I hope you enjoyed the second and final part of the reflection. I do have ideas of what I want to do next, but I want to point out that writing isn't my full-time job, so it will take longer for work to come out. Thank you for listening. All the best, NJ.